And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And here we are. It's Thursday. We have got a fantastic, fantabulous, magnificent show for you today. You know what? Let's get right to it. On today's show, as usual, we're going to talk about what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and we're going to do continue our segment, actually, of the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story with Paul is going to be, let's see here, it's Establishment Boy. You're going to find that interesting. A lot of twists to it. Also today, we're going to have on today's special segment, Sean LaFave. Sean LaFave and I are going to be talking about healthcare on his Geared for Wellness segment. And then, other than that, you know what? Let's talk about the weather. It's 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, and it's currently only 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. The low's going to be 58. I can tell you, looking outside the studio window, it's absolutely magnificent. It's beautiful outside and clear. But right now, let's talk about the news. Lots of stuff in the news. We've encapsulated the top 10 items so that we can tell you what's there, and you can have conversations with the people you work with or work for, or your neighbors, whoever, and they'll know that you know what's going on in the news. So let's get right to it. Right after that, we'll do a little more in-depth. Here are the 10 things you need to know for Thursday. Your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that are going to be talked about all day today and probably tomorrow, too. Starkly different versions of shooting emerge. Police in Charlotte, North Carolina, say a man disregarded repeated demands to drop his gun, while neighborhood residents say he was holding a book, not a weapon, before he was slain. And Clinton and Trump decry the latest police shootings of black men. The Republican nominee, for his part, says he was very troubled by the killing of a black man by a white police officer in Oklahoma. And who's doing away with diplomatic niceties? Well, the United States and Russia, in a fractious public debate, will blame each other for spoiling the ceasefire in Syria. Well, world leaders unleash grievances at the United Nations on the International Day of Peace. Tensions from all parts of the planet fill the halls during the annual UN gathering of heads of states. Well, New York bombing case heads to court. Federal charges portraying Manhattan bombing suspect Ahmad Khan Rahami as a man bent on murderous destruction set the stage for the most anticipated terror prosecution since the Boston Marathon attack. And what appears to be at heart of Wells Fargo scandal? Current and former employees say that working at the nation's second largest financial institution meant a constant and compulsive pressure to sell. Well, I don't think we've heard into that yet. What about this? The Fed rate hike looms. The Federal Reserve keeps its key interest rate unchanged, but signals that it will likely raise rates before year's end. You know, they've been saying that for a while. I don't doubt that that's going to happen now. And where the latest global warming alarm is sounding? Well, Greenland actually is losing about 40 trillion pounds more ice a year than scientists had thought, according to a new study. Now, that's a lot. How about this? Call it the Brangelina paradox. The couple's star power has always been mightier than their box office power, and that's not likely to change now that they're divorcing. And then finally, quarterback poised to achieve a first. Jacoby Brissett could become the very first African-American quarterback to start a regular season game for New England when the Patriots take on Houston. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's get into the news a little more in depth and talk about the things that are so very important to us. A Tulsa, Oklahoma police officer is charged in the man's death. Prosecutors filed first-degree manslaughter charges against white Oklahoma police officer Thursday, less than a week after she fatally shot an unarmed black man on a city street, and just days after police released videos of the shooting, saying in court documents that the officer reacted unreasonably. Tulsa County District Attorney Steve Kunzweiler charged Tulsa officer Betty Shelby in the September 16th shooting death of 40-year-old Terrence Crutcher. Kunzweiler said that arrangements were being made for Shelby's surrender. The swift action in Tulsa stood in contrast to Charlotte, North Carolina, where police refused under mounting pressure today, I should say, to release video of the shooting of another black man this week, and the National Guard was called in to try to head off a third night of violence. Demonstrations in Tulsa since Crutcher's death have been consistently peaceful. I don't know why things happen in this world the way that they do, Crunchweiler said. We need to pray for wisdom and guidance. Well, you know, what happened to the world that I grew up in? This doesn't seem to be the same world. Anyway, we got to do something about it, or we're leaving a horrible legacy for our kids. How about this? Charlotte police refused to release the video of the deadly shooting. It makes you have to question what's going on, right? Charlotte police refused under mounting pressure today to refuse to release video that could solve wildly different accounts of the shooting of a black man as the National Guard arrived to try and head off a third night of violence in this city on edge. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Chief Kerr Putney said that releasing the police dash cam and body camera footage of the killing of a 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott could undermine the investigation. He told reporters that the video will be made public when he believes that there is a compelling reason to do so. You shouldn't expect it to be released, Putney said. I'm not going to jeopardize the investigation. Well, sounds to me like he's already jeopardizing the investigation. Doesn't it seem that way to you? Yeah. Well, here's one for you. Deplorable? Trump more so than Clinton. Yeah. Well, you know what? It was supposed to be her 47% moment when Hillary Clinton said that half of Donald Trump's supporters belonged in a basket of deplorables. Republicans thought that they just might have found her campaign crushing blunder. The gaffe that they hoped was a way to cement an image as an out-of-touch snob, just as Democrats did 4 years ago to Mitt Romney after he said 47% of voters backed President Barack Obama because they were dependent on government. Well, the problem is that a new Associated Press poll finds that Clinton's stumble didn't have quite the impact that Trump and his supporters wanted. Instead, it's Trump who's viewed as most disconnected and disrespectful. 60% of registered voters say that he does not respect ordinary Americans, according to the poll. That's far more than the 48% who say the same about Clinton. You know what? These polls, I don't know what to say about these polls. They just wishy-washy and they're all over the place. I'm not sure what's accurate, what's not accurate. I'm pretty sure that the polls are manufactured to say what people want them to say. Well, here's one for you. Trump debate challenge, keeping his cool if Clinton attacks. Donald Trump's advisors are urging him to keep his cool during next week's presidential debate and resist attempts by Hillary Clinton to provoke him with questions about his business record, wealth, or controversial comments about minorities. The focus underscores the campaign's concern that too many Americans still don't believe the Republican has the temperament to be president, which could be a difference maker in the close race with Clinton. He can't not let Hillary get under his skin, said Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker and Trump advisor. Gingrich is part of a rotating cast of politicians and policy experts traveling with Trump on his private plane for mid-flight debate preparations, according to Republicans familiar with the preparations. Others include retired Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, who's advising Trump on national security, and economist Peter Navarro. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, a loyal Trump supporter, has been helping on issues such as the federal government's relationship with the states. And now, we got to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about the United States and Russia is poised for a new battle over Syria. Boy, it just gets worse and worse and worse. I'll tell you all about it right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:12 p.m. Pacific time. Well, it's still 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 58 degrees. A little later in the show, we'll start giving you some weather information on our globally syndicated areas all around the world. But right now, let's get back to the news. And here, the United States and Russia are poised for a new battle over Syria. With Syria's ceasefire in shambles, the United States and Russia are preparing to butt heads once again over ways to revive it. Amid the widespread disagreement today between Washington and Moscow, the internal dissent within the Obama administration over how or even if to proceed, Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov convened what diplomats expected to be a fractious meeting of the roughly 20 nations that have declared interest in Syria. The International Syria Support Group was to consider a U.S. call for all warplanes to halt flights over air routes following an attack on a humanitarian convoy near the besieged city of Aleppo, as well as a Russian suggestion for a 3-day pause in fighting to get the cessation of hostilities back on track. However, diplomats said prospects for the success of either idea were unclear. Well, you know what? Syrian President Bashar Assad told the Associated Press in an interview with Damascus that the United States was to blame for the deal's failure. Well, you know what? And it goes on and on and on. At some point, somebody has to do something about what's going on over there. And I don't know why they're not doing something to help themselves. I just don't know. I don't get it. Well, here's an Associated Press exclusive. Assad blames the United States for collapse of the Syrian truce. He's been stigmatized internationally, a contentious figure presiding over a ruinous civil war that seems to slip into further depravity every single day. But In his power base in the Syrian capital, President Bashar Assad projected confidence, conceding nothing to his critics and accusing the United States of derailing a ceasefire and lacking the will to fight extremists in his country. In an interview with the Associated Press, Assad rejected U.S. accusations that Syrian or Russian planes struck an aid convoy in Aleppo this week, and that his troops were preventing food from entering the city's rebel-held areas. He maintained deadly airstrikes by the United States-led coalition on Syrian troops last weekend, where international dismissing American officials' statements that they were an incident or an accident. Well, in Washington, the State Department countered that Assad's assertions were ridiculous. You know what? These people just, I don't know who's lying. I think everybody's lying, and they're lying through their hats. You know, I mean, what a mess. Well, fishermen who fled slavery in San Francisco sue the boat owner. Two Indonesian fishermen who escaped slavery aboard a Honolulu-based tuna and swordfish vessel when it docked in San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf are suing the boat's owner for tricking them into accepting dangerous jobs that they say they weren't allowed to leave. Attorneys for Abdul Fattah and Sorihin, who uses one name, says in a lawsuit filed in federal court today that they were recruited in Indonesia 7 years ago to work in Hawaii's commercial fishing fleet without realizing that they would never be allowed on shore. They have since been issued visas for victims of human trafficking and are living in San Francisco right now. The lawsuit alleges that San Jose, California resident Soy Nujin, owner of and captain of the Sea Queen 2, forced Sorihin and Fatah to work up to 20-hour shifts, denied them medical treatment, and demanded thousands of dollars if they wanted to leave before their contracts expired. Nguyen did not return calls seeking comment. The lawsuit seeks payment for debts that the man incurred, fees that they paid, and compensation promised without specifying a dollar amount, and asked for unspecified damages for mental anguish and pain. Wow. Well, I don't doubt it, I guess. Nothing surprises me anymore. How about this? Yahoo hack steals personal info from at least 500,000 accounts. You know what? Computer hackers swipe personal information from at least 500 million accounts. And they were Yahoo accounts and what is believed to be the biggest digital break-in at an email provider. The massive security breakdown disclosed today poses new headaches for Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer as she scrambles to close a $4.8 billion sale to Verizon Communications. The breach today dates back to late 2014, raising questions about the checks and balances within Yahoo, a fallen internet star that has been laying off staff to counter a steep drop in revenue during the past 8 years. At the time of the break-in, Yahoo's security team was led by Alex Stamos, a respected industry executive who left last year to take a similar job at Facebook. Yahoo didn't explain what took so long to uncover a branch that it blamed on a state-sponsored actor. Parlance for a hacker working on behalf of a foreign government, the Sunnyvale, California company declined to explain how it reached its conclusions about the attack, but said it is working with the FBI and other law enforcement as part of its ongoing investigation. Wow. Can you imagine? Well, imagine this. Do not go away. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, I'm going to make you a lot happier. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. And the first case up is the IRS loses. One spouse can contest the other's innocence even after death. And I'll tell you all about that just as soon as we get back from these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, General Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh, yeah, I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time. The temperature's starting to go down a little bit here in the Pacific. It's 76 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's down from 78 on its way to 58 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 78 degrees and it is clear. And if it's in Chicago, Illinois, you're listening to us, well, you know what? It is 84 degrees and it's just a little overcast. But I'll tell you what's not overcast. I'm going to make your day right now. I'm going to send the hair up on the back of your necks. I'm going to make the hair stand up and shiver on your arms. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. And the first case today is one spouse can contest the other's innocence even after death. Here's the case. The IRS assessed tax on a joint return filed by a couple who had since divorced. Now, the wife said that she was an innocent spouse and that the tax bill was due entirely to her husband, so he alone should be liable for it. Now, the IRS, as required by law, sought to inform the husband to enable him to intervene to defend his interest in the innocent spouse proceeding. But he died. So this is the question. Did the right to intervene die with the husband, or did it pass to his estate and heirs? Well, this is what the tax court said. Since the husband's survivors may be harmed by the wife's claim, the right to intervene passes to them. The IRS must make an effort to find and notify each and every one of them. Just seems fair. How about this? The IRS loses. their position that was initially reasonable became unreasonable. Let me tell you about it. A woman defeated the IRS in court and asked the court to order the IRS to pay her legal fees. Now, the IRS answered that its position had been reasonable in the case, so it shouldn't owe the fees. This is what the judge said. The IRS's position in the case originally really was reasonable, but after new facts were developed in court, the IRS's central office that specializes in this kind of dispute advised the IRS's litigators to concede. Instead, they continued to pursue the case. At that point, the IRS's position became unreasonable. Therefore, the woman's entitled to have the IRS pay the legal fees that she incurred after that point. Just makes sense, doesn't it? Just common sense. Let me give you one more. The IRS loses. The late receipt of a tax notice gives extra chance to an appeal. Let me tell you, the IRS sent a deficiency notice to a couple giving them 90 days to go to tax court to fight a tax bill. But they'd moved and received the notice only 12 days before the deadline. Now, when they didn't file in court, the IRS acted to collect the tax. The couple then asked for a collection due process hearing to argue against the tax bill on the merits. But the IRS said that they had lost the right to fight the tax when they didn't go to court, and that they should be allowed to discuss only how to pay it at the hearing. Well, this is what the judge said. 12 days is not enough time to file a case in court. So the IRS must listen to and consider the merits of the couple's case at the hearing. Now, doesn't that just make, why do they have to be so tough? Why do they got to play hardball? You'd think that they work for us. They didn't realize that they work for us. That's exactly what happens. Well, you've heard me say it many, many times. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things? That's where we're at right now with this segment that we refer to as Inside the IRS. It's just a little bit like the Twilight Zone. Oh, yeah. Now, these are not actual tax court cases, but these are positions and things that have happened to the IRS that if you know about them, you can actually prepare in advance and kind of know what the outcome is going to be. So let's talk about a couple of these. First of all, let's talk about volunteer preparer foul-ups. According to a recently released report by the Treasury Inspector General, more than half of the tax returns prepared by the federal government's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance program, they call it VITA, by the way, last year's filing season, were inaccurate. The Inspector General based his report on the results of a test sample of 36 tax returns. Now, 22 of the 36 were found to contain errors. Now, in recent years, the IRS has been criticized for delegating too much of its own responsibility for taxpayer service to volunteers who lack the experience to gather the proper information and apply the appropriate tax law. So here's a lesson for you. You get what you pay for. Yeah, always use a qualified, licensed professional. You'll be glad you did, I promise you. Well, how about this? Here's some post-9/11 tax-free working condition fringe benefits that are recognized by the IRS. Special security precautions provided by companies to their senior executives may not be fully subject to income tax. Now, for example, employer-provided vehicles fitted with bulletproof glass, chauffeurs trained in evasive driving techniques, armed bodyguards, and the use of private aircraft for personal trips may be all considered a working condition fringe benefit as defined by the tax code and regulations. Now, special rules define what portion of the benefit is subject to tax and what portion is going to be tax-free. But there is an important rule here. The employer must establish an overall security program, which generally means that the employee is protected 24 hours a day. Yeah, Absolutely. Well, you know what? There's only one way I know to be protected 24 hours a day, and that's to have a good friend like mine. He's coming right up after these brief messages. Our own Joel Saltzman. How about Sean Lefebvre in the Geared for Wellness Corner? Sean's got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about probably current events, but we're certainly going to talk about healthcare. We'll talk about healthcare to Sean, and here's a guy you can believe, because you know what? I don't think the man knows how to lie. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. You don't want to miss this.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:33 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 76 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's down from 78 degrees on its way to 58 degrees. I got to tell you, it's just dropped dead gorgeous outside. Just a little bit of a breeze. It's clear outside. It's just beautiful out there. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're dipping your toes into the mighty blue Pacific in Torrance, California, California. Well, it's 75 degrees and clear. It's good surfing weather for our own Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless. But you know what? If you're in the land of Oz in Wichita, Kansas, I want you to know that it's 91 degrees, scattered clouds, and there is a tsunami of heated wave and humidity sitting over you that only the bugs like out there. But you know what? There's somebody that's out of that weather in air-conditioned comfort. That's our own Sean LaFave. Sean, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, you're exactly right. I'm doing great because I'm in the air conditioner. When I'm actually in the air conditioner, I'm in the building that has an air conditioner attached to it. So,
that's much better than being.
I'm good.
That's much better than being in the air conditioner.
Yeah, it's obviously nice that it's not 90 some odd degrees here inside. But even if they just made a machine that only removed the humidity, I'd still be fine. That's the part that kills me. I know we say this every time I get on air. I talk about the humidity and how horrible it is, but it's just a energy zapper.
Well, think about those people that are in the twilight years of their lives and have to endure that. I mean, you're a young man. Think about how tough it is for older people.
Oh, man,
matter of fact, maybe there aren't.
I never liked it. Even when I was in my 20s. I'm one of these people that I don't know why I just sweat a lot. And when it's humid out, man, I just am covered with it. I hate it.
The dehydration could kill you, and that's what the problem is with the more elderly people. And I was just thinking about it. There probably aren't any elderly people in Wichita. They've either died from the heat and the humidity, or the bugs.
Yeah, probably the bugs before the heat. And the bugs make you want to kill yourself. It's funny when I first went in the Air Force, I was stationed up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and back then we had these things for anyone under the age of 30. We had these things called newspapers that we would read.
What are those?
Yeah, it's a very archaic, very ancient form of communication. No longer used. I went to the office the other day, and there was a phone book outside, and I was like, "They still make these things? Like, who uses a phone book?"
I'll bet you it wasn't attached to a phone booth because Superman's dead.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was not attached to a phone booth. But I used to read the newspaper, and one of the things that I enjoyed reading when I was living in North Dakota was I would read the obituaries because those people live forever up there.
Wait a minute, were you just trying to make sure that you weren't listed in there?
Yeah, I always wake up every morning. I look up. Nope, I'm not there. I'm doing okay. Yeah, that's the first thing I look for every day. So. But yeah, I used to read the obituaries, and I don't know why I found them interesting to read, but I was really interested in the fact that there were people that were in their 90s and up above 100, and they died of just old age, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean 100. I would certainly hope so.
Yeah,
I would certainly hope so. My guess is they all died because their heart stopped.
That's probably exactly what happened.
I don't think you heard the beginning of my show, and I know how you feel about global warming, but I have to repeat this just for you because it is right up your alley, and it says where the latest global warming alarm is sounding. And you talked about this place just recently, and that's why it kind of triggered me to say that I wanted to bring it out in front of you. Greenland is losing about 40 trillion pounds more ice a year than scientists had thought, according to a new study.
I actually read that. I think I read it today. Maybe it was yesterday, but yeah, I remember reading that. And I thought, that's very fascinating. It changed my opinion, but Well,
that's what I love about you. Your opinion is not easily changed.
I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he says one of the traits of successful men is, and of course, all the people that he interviewed for that book were men. There were no women that were interviewed for that book because it was done in the early 1900s. But one of the traits of successful men is they're quick to make a decision once they've got the information available to them. They don't dally on making a decision. They're quick to make a decision, and they're slow to change their mind once they've made that decision.
Well, you know what? Donald Trump proved that with birtherism, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he did. I love the way he settled it, though. Did you see what he did with the whole?
He was born in the United States. Period.
He was born in the United States. He's an American. It's over.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, he just brought us out here. Because what he did is he had an hour worth of like military people coming up first and saying, yeah, we support Donald Trump. Donald Trump's awesome. All of a sudden, CNN just went, oh my gosh, we just got played by Donald Trump. He got all that media out there at his brand new hotel and all these endorsements,
Sean,
free advertisement. I got to give the guy credit for that one.
Sean, Donald Trump has been playing the media forever.
Yeah.
And very successfully.
Yeah. You think when he said that, it was funny when I saw him in an interview, and I thought, why won't they let it go? Why did they keep asking him? And he said, I'm not going to answer that question right now. Do you still believe Barack Obama is an American citizen? He said, I'm not going to answer. He goes, I'll answer it when the time is right.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what does he have up his sleeve that he's going to wait and answer? Like, why? He knows the answer. It's not that he doesn't have an answer, because clearly he does.
Yeah.
He's just saying, I'm not going to answer it until the time is right. Well, the timing was right when he was opening up his brand new hotel and he got free endorsement coverage.
Actually, not only that, but the timing was right because it was a week and a half before he was going to get on the stage with Hillary Clinton, who was going to blast him about that issue. Now that's off the table.
Yeah. In fact, I love the comment that he made. He goes, Hillary Clinton started the birther movement, and I finished it.
Yeah,
I put it into it. And I thought it was so clever. It was funny. But anyway.
you know what I find, the part that I find distasteful, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and that is that we as Americans would like to hear something of quality, something that has some meat in it about foreign policy and domestic policy and the economy and jobs and of course all the rife that's going on today, whether it be in Oklahoma or Chicago or wherever it might be, all these horrible things that are taking place in our nation. Whatever happened to the world that I grew up in? It seems to be completely gone now, and we can't even get the people who want to lead us, who want to protect, or I don't know if they want to protect us, but the people that want to have the most elite job in the world, most powerful job in the world, President of the United States, we can't even get them to tell us the truth. Yeah,
it's and I think that it probably isn't any different than it's been forever, but it's just, I think it's the social media outlet has really changed what we see. Of course, I think that it makes it worse now because we're inundated with information, and half of it is probably more than half of it isn't even true. Look what happened in Charlotte. Or still happening, I guess,
in North Carolina. It was another young person died last night who was a protester.
Yeah, well, of course. I've said this a couple of times now. This isn't going to stop, and this is an unjust. Even if it was a protest, it's unjust. Let alone rioting is always unjust. But it was a black cop who shot a black man who had a pistol in his hand and refused to follow cops' orders to put the gun down. Yeah. You can only tell someone to put the gun down so many times before you go, okay, this guy is either going to shoot us or himself or something. So we're going to protect ourselves. I'm not going to give him a chance to raise that gun in my direction.
And I don't, you know what? And I really, honestly, don't have a problem with that. Not,
I don't either.
Not at all. But in Charlotte, North Carolina, I do have a problem there with the fact that there are a number of videos that have been taken that the police won't even they won't let their dash cam videos go. They won't let their personal videos go. They're trying to stop any videos from going out. Some of them have leaked out, and it really shows what appears to be an unjust execution of that man.
The one that died last night?
No, the one that died. No, the one that died before that. The gentleman that the police were repeatedly demanding that he drop his gun. He was holding a book, not a gun. He did everything that they asked him to do, and he didn't even have a weapon.
I don't even know who that was. I don't know about that one.
Well, that's what started this thing in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina. That's what started this whole thing. That's what all of these protests are all about. And it says that the man.
I thought the protests were about the guy who had the pistol in his hand.
Well, yeah, but he
about the guy with the book.
No. He didn't have a pistol. We're talking about two different guys. The guy that had a pistol in his hand was the protester last night. The other one was what started the whole protest.
Yeah, the media initially came out and said he did not have a weapon, but they have now.
I'm looking at today's news that was reported just 20 minutes before we went on the air, and it says police in Charlotte, North Carolina say a man disregarded repeated demands to drop his gun while neighborhood residents say that he was holding a book, not a weapon, before he was slain. And the videos that have already leaked out show that the man had his hands on top of the car. They were empty.
Okay, this must be a completely different case then.
No, this is the case. I think what's happening is we're getting a lot of people that are trying to sway the news and create their own facts here. But this just came out from the Associated Press just before I went on the air.
That's really weird. Yeah, I watched a video of the police chief in Charlotte spelling out exactly what happened. The man he got out of his car, had a pistol in his hand, got back in his car. The police approached him, told him to get out of the vehicle and put the gun down. He got out of the vehicle, but kept the gun in his hand.
Well, this one I'm talking about, the man never got into the car. He was on the outside of the car, his hands on top of the car. I saw the video myself. And then the police chief refuses to release the dash cam videos and the official police videos. And there's got to be a reason that the police are refusing to release those videos.
Yeah, that one I haven't even heard about, but that's a completely different one because the one, in fact, it's right here, Washington Post. You know, it's I'm sorry, Washington Post, New York Times. You know, saying that the man was armed with a gun. That's really weird that we're getting completely different. But it must be two different incidents then, because the one I watched the video. I watched the police chief come out and say, "Look, this man had a gun in his hand. This is the way it happened." And that's the way the news reported. The news initially reported that specific incident as the man being unarmed. So I don't know if that's still being perpetuated or what. But that's really interesting. I didn't know. All I've heard about is one shooting in North Carolina and then the one here that happened in Tulsa, which was extremely unfortunate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It sounds like that guy was unjustly shot, and I'm sure she didn't do it out of racially motivated reasons. She was probably scared to death and pulled the trigger when she shouldn't have.
Well, this one, and you know what? I am so sorry. The one that I am talking about took place not in Charlotte, North Carolina. Took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
I was mistaken, and so that's the one I was actually giving you. And they had graphic videos that were out there, and it was just and it came in just about 27 minutes ago.
Yeah, now, and you're right. They charged her with first-degree manslaughter in that case. That's right.
And then you know what? Because I got the two of these, I've got them one right after the other, and that's where I made the error. So I apologize. You're absolutely right.
I thought I was going to have to up my dementia drugs or something. But
hey, listen, I would tell you that you were right, but then I would be wrong, and I can't do that.
We can't have that happen.
No.
But the thing is, in Charlotte, they're writing over the fact that a man was shot who had a pistol. He was shot, and there's the writers are out there. They're going, "White people are evil." This guy was quoted as saying, "White people are evil," and it's like you realize that he was shot by a black man, right? The cop who shot him was black. It was a black officer who shot a black man who had a pistol in his hand who refused to put the gun down. And that one's just clear cut. You know, boom, that guy unfortunately got what he deserved.
Well, you know, honestly, if I were a policeman or any armed individual and somebody else actually had a gun in their hand and they even began to turn in my direction, I wouldn't wait for that gun to be pointing at me before I pulled my gun and fired.
Boy, I'll tell you, I saw someone posted a video, and it's not recent. It's from, I don't know if it's a year or two old or when it was, but it was a highway patrolman pulled over a guy in a pickup truck, And this was a hard video to watch. I watched it to the end, and I was just mortified. It's one of those ones that just makes you sick to your stomach. Mm-hmm. The officer tells the guy, "Hey, come on back here and talk to me." And the guy comes and he starts getting all up in the officer's face, and he's acting like a jerk. And the officer tells him, back off, back off. The guy backs off, walks back to his car. And this was where the guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma made the mistake, is he walked back to his vehicle. That's why he's dead. He's dead because this woman was afraid and she shot him when she shouldn't have. And he disobeyed cops' orders. Yeah. And the reason why cops freak out when you disobey their orders and walk back to your car is because of this video that I'm talking about now. Guy walks back to his car, opens the door, pulls out a rifle. And the cop, you could hear the fear, and this is why this particular cop is now dead, is because he was afraid and he couldn't control his fear. You could hear it in his voice, the absolute terror, the fear in his voice as he's telling the guy, "Put the gun down, put the gun down." He told him several times. I would have shot him after the first, maybe second time. And then all of a sudden the guy pulls the gun up and starts firing. The cop starts firing back. Shot out a window, missed the guy, unloaded his gun and missed the guy with every single bullet he had. And this dude hit him with the rifle, chased him around the car, and finally the cop was screaming because he'd been shot. He's in pain. This guy walked up to him with a rifle, point blank range, and just loaded probably another 5 or 6 rounds into him.
Well, that begs another question, and that is why on earth do we issue weapons to law enforcement that are not even accurate? If a pistol, a handgun, is not an accurate weapon, why on earth do we allow police officers to use those weapons in a gunfight that could wind up hitting anybody?
Yeah, they're accurate enough. The problem is...
Well, wait a minute. You just said this police officer who is trained unloaded their gun on this guy and never hit him.
Yeah, because he was afraid. He probably, I don't know anything about the cop. Nothing. You didn't even really, you got just a kind of a silhouette look of him. You couldn't really make out how old he was. Mm-hmm. In his voice, he sounded like a fairly young guy, probably maybe in his 20s. I don't know. And, but you could hear that terror. And when you're afraid and that adrenaline is pumping like that, your whole body is shaking. A rifle might help a little bit, but I shot a Glock 9mm. I shot expert with a Glock 9mm, and that's what the cops use. I shot that in the military, and I think we go.
Okay, so when you shoot expert with a Glock 9mm, how far away is the target?
It starts out like 15 feet, and then it goes, or 15 yards, or something like that. And I think the farthest is 50 yards. And this cop was probably 75 feet away from the guy tops. I mean, he probably wasn't even that far. It was probably more like 50 to 60 feet, but I'll go 75 just to be generous. Mm-hmm. And that gun can shoot a lot farther than the distance. I've shot, center mass. They put a circle in the face and they put a circle in the middle of the target that you're shooting at in the middle of center mass. And you got to have so many in the face and so many in the chest in order to shoot expert. And, and so I can't remember. I think it was 50 yards or 50 feet. I can't remember now. But it was farther away.
50 feet is a long way. 50 yards is a half a football field. I kind of doubt that.
Yeah, you're right. It was, maybe it was 50 feet. I can't remember the exact number, but it was something like that. I could find out. But point is, this cop was not any farther away from this man than I was from the targets that I was able to put a bullet through center mass with this gun. The difference was, and it doesn't mean that I'm a better shot than him, the difference was someone wasn't trying to kill me at the time. Right. And I wasn't afraid. I was in a very controlled, calm environment where I could stop, pull my gun out. And, I learned this. My dad actually taught me this when I was a kid. I learned how to do this when I was pretty young. He set up some aluminum cans, and I had the shotgun out, and he said, "Shoot those as fast as you can." And I just pulled the gun, bam, 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 and I started firing away, and I think I hit one of them. And
wait a minute, you have to be mistaken. You had a shotgun, and you only hit one can?
Oh yeah, man! You can be a horrible shot with a shotgun too, And he said, "Here's what I want you to do." He said, "I want you to calm down, and the next time you shoot, take a breath first, focus on that first can, and then go after the other ones after it." And it only was an extra half a second that I took before I fired off that first shot. But that half a second of breathing, collecting my thought, pointing, aiming, and making sure I'm on target, and then firing was what I got all 3 cans the next time. And, this cop it's easy to forget your training when someone's,
Yeah, maybe. Unfortunately, maybe you don't have a half a second when you're looking down the barrel of somebody else's gun.
And that's just it. You may not have a half a second. So it's that practice. You get, like, I remember I went hunting. I finally honed my skills shooting with rifles. Mm-hmm. I was out hunting one time, and I chased. It was funny because my dad actually took the first shot of the deer. He hit the antler. I don't know what he was aiming for because he doesn't usually go for headshots, but he hit the antler, broke the antler off the deer, and the thing jumped and it took off running, and I ran after it. And I come around, like, it was like a little bend on this path, and it goes around a little hill, and I come around, and he had stopped, and I came to a dead stop. I was in a full run after this thing. I came up, stopped, pulled my gun up, and as soon as my gun hit my shoulder, I was peering through that scope, and I pulled the trigger, and just as I pulled the trigger, he jumped, and but I was trying to shoot him in the chest, and I hit him in the gut instead. So I was only off about probably 6 or 7 inches from where I was aiming, and what it did is it actually went through his gut. It went back into his leg, and it went through his femur bone and broke his leg in half, and he fell on the ground and lay there, and I went up and put one in his skull to put him out of his misery. But but again, even that, that was a quick reaction, and I'm a good shot. I'm really good with a gun, but I've got a whole expert in 3 different weapons in the Air Force, by the way. But I've never had to shoot at something that was trying to shoot back at me, and I'm sure that would change the whole dynamics.
I would certainly think so too. Listen, just out of curiosity, the difference between expert and sharpshooter.
Oh, I don't know, because it's I would imagine when I think of a sharpshooter, I think.
I'm sorry about that. So somebody was interfering on the broadcast. You still there?
Call that sharpshooter, but I would think of a sharpshooter as someone who, when I think of sharpshooters, I think of someone who uses a rifle and shoots more long distance.
So you're thinking more like a what can I think of it? These guys that I can't think of this Kyle that was. What do they call these guys that they put all these this special camouflage on and
snipers?
Yeah, snipers. So sharpshooter would probably be a sniper, huh?
Yeah, I would think of a sharpshooter. I would think of it as a sniper. Yes, exactly. To see if there's even a definition for sharpshooter. Look it up.
Yeah. It's not that important.
What a topic to get on. That's funny.
Yeah.
But point is, we were talking as a person who's very skilled in shooting. So I guess I could be considered a sharpshooter too. I just never called myself that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: you are really sharp. I want you to keep that sharpness just during this commercial break, and when we come back, I'll go in any direction you want to go in. How's that?
All right, I got some fun health topics to talk about. We'll stop talking about shooting people.
Okay, that's a good idea. Well, that could be detrimental to your health too, right?
Eventually, yes.
All right. We'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away. We got a lot of good show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's down to 76 degrees now in the heart of the Inland Empire. In sunny Southern California, it's down from 80 degrees on its way to 57. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, first of all, I congratulate you. You're lucky. Second of all, it's 59 degrees and it is clear. And if you're in Rome, Italy, you're a little bit luckier and it's 64 degrees and it's clear. But the unlucky part is it's only 1 o'clock in the morning, so you're probably having a great time if you're listening to this show. Right now, let's talk to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone.
Well, while we were on our commercial break, I took it upon myself to look up so I can at least answer your question more fully. So here's the full answer. So passing the marksmanship training course in the Army will earn you a marksmanship badge. You have to hit between 23 and 29 out of the 40 targets to get a marksmanship qualification. If you get between 30 to 35 out of 40, you qualify for sharpshooter. And to get an expert badge, you must hit between 36 to 40 of the targets. So apparently expert is one step above sharpshooter.
Okay, so it was the other way around from what I was thinking. So expert, and then after that, I suppose you become a sniper.
I would guess so. Yeah. Those guys are just machines. I tell you, I've read some stories. I've always been fascinated with snipers and the sheer discipline. But these guys would move through a forest area or jungle area or whatever it is that they're going to move through, and sometimes they would move at a rate of like maybe just a few feet per minute. And be out there for days in one spot waiting for their target to show up. And you read some of their stories and it's just the sheer discipline of these guys to be able to move, to move at such a slow pace and to be able to keep themselves camouflaged and move into the middle of enemy territory without getting spotted, pull off literally a single shot, and then retreat back without getting caught is pretty amazing. To me, a good sniper is just, of course there are snipers too that don't, they do sniping from the top of buildings. So they're not doing the crawling around, but I've always been fascinated with snipers. But anyway, so I've got some fun stuff that I know you'll like talking about. I do have some stuff that's pretty depressing. So if at the end of the show we're all still happy, we can talk about that because we don't want.
Let's
walk away feeling good.
Yeah, let's just depress the hell out of everybody.
All right, so we'll start with the happy stuff.
Yeah.
So just discovered this. Was pretty excited to find this. It's a diet rich in cheese, not just any cheese, but high-fat cheese, is actually good for you.
Oh, really?
There was a study done at the University of Copenhagen, and they found that eating cheese, high-fat cheese, is good for improving your health because it increases the high density HDL, the high density lipotrides. It increases the good cholesterol in your blood.
Well, that's good. That's good news because I love cheese.
Oh, I love cheese, and man, I don't want anything. I don't like low fat anything except pineapple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. But see, but I'll sit down with a glass of wine and some cheese and maybe some walnuts and maybe some fig preserves or something.
That's one of my all-time favorite things to do. I love to go out to a nice restaurant that has a cheese platter. Get a glass of wine with a cheese platter with, like you say, some nuts with that. And, oh, man, I'm in heaven. And, in fact, we're going to talk about wine, too, so you bring that up.
All right.
But what they did was they did a 12-week cheese test with 139 adults, and they basically broke them up into 3 different groups. And the first group was told to eat 80 grams of high-fat cheese every day. And the second group was told to eat 80 grams of reduced fat cheese. And the third group was told to not eat any cheese, but they ate 90 grams of bread and jam each day instead. So they got bread and jelly instead of cheese. And what they found was that none of them in the group had an increase in the LDLs, the bad cholesterol. But the group that ate the high-fat cheese actually showed an increase in the HDLs, the high-density lipotrides, which, of course, is the more beneficial. In the ratio, you want the HDL to be higher than the LDL. And so what they're saying is, look, that eating high-fat cheese, which isn't a surprise to me because I've been saying this forever. Well, not forever, but for at least a decade now. That all that good fat in there is what you need for healthy bodily function. It's not fat and cholesterol that creates. Fat doesn't make you fat. Fat and cholesterol isn't what's creating heart disease. It's sugar. It's refined foods. It's processed foods because they're creating inflammation, and it's that inflammation that actually increases the bad cholesterol and increases your cholesterol in general and leads to heart disease and of course a whole list of other health conditions as well. But there was also a small study in 2015 that cheese is also beneficial to giving you a faster metabolism.
Oh, really?
It increases your metabolism and gives you a better ability to burn fat. And man, that's something I've been teaching for a long time is, fat doesn't make you fat. It's the inability to burn fat, and eating good quality, healthy fats will actually increase your body's ability to burn fat for energy.
Well, does that have anything to do with the concept that you have to put something in the furnace to get it burning? And so if you put that cheese without the sugars and stuff in it, you put it into your stomach, it sort of gets the furnace burning to burn up the rest of those empty calories?
Yeah. That's probably a good way of looking at it. It depends on which fire do you want to stoke. Do you want to stoke the fire that burns sugar, or do you want to stoke the fire that burns fat? And that's the only two sources of energy that our body has are either sugar or fat. And sugar burns really dirty. It creates a lot of byproducts. In fact, I just watched there's actually a webinar, it was a repeat of a webinar that's not a webinar, but of a video of a seminar that I attended a few months ago, where he was talking about lactic acidosis, which is basically the body's inability to get rid of lactic acid buildup, and how that's really brought on by excessive amounts of sugar. And so the body actually creates this cycle where it takes the lactic acid and returns it back into sugar and reburns it. And we know that sugar burns very dirty. It leads a lot of byproducts, and it leads to inflammation. And you want to trash your body, up your sugar intake. And so that's one way to burn sugar. The other way to burn sugar, to get energy. The other way to get energy is, of course, to burn fat for energy. And if you constantly stoke that fire of burning sugar, what it does create that inflammation. It burns up the leptin receptors on the hypothalamus because of the overactive, it's called a cytokine response. Cytokines are made by macrophages, which kind of come in and they're supposed to repair things, but then they get overactive because of the inflammation, and they start beating things down, and all of a sudden they destroy your leptin receptors, and the leptin is the hormone that tells you to burn fat. So now, boom, you no longer have the ability to burn fat, and you're stuck as a sugar burner. So yeah, putting that sugar in your diet is going to stoke that sugar fire more and more and more, and it's going to make it more difficult for your body to burn fat at all. Some people literally lose the ability to burn fat completely. You know, you can
permanently.
No, it's never permanent, but you've got to go in and you basically now have to force the body back into fat burning mode. You've got to cut the sugar out. You've got to, it actually takes, we have a diet, we call it the cellular healing diet, but, that you put people on. Actually, a ketogenic diet is probably even better for it than the cellular healing diet, but a ketogenic diet is great because you have to remove sugar. And what happens is you drive down that inflammation, you give the body good fat, you drive down the inflammation process, those leptin receptors can start to heal themselves and repair, and then all of a sudden your body starts burning fat for energy. And it's cool when when I work with people that are stuck in sugar burning mode, they're the people who have trouble sleeping, their energy level plummets in the afternoon, they get hungry, and if I say hungry, it's not even the word for it, they get cravings. It's not really, they're not truly hungry. If you have a craving for something very specific, especially if it's like bread or pasta or sweets or something like that, it's not true hunger. Most people in this country have never experienced true hunger. But we get cravings a lot because, I've never had anybody come to me and says, man, Sean, I tell you what, I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't have broccoli because I crave this stuff all the time. It just doesn't happen. I can't, but I literally can't tell you how many people have told me, like, I don't want to ever give up bread. And it's just like, well, then stay sick. Those are your options. You don't have to give up bread forever, but in the short run, we need to give up the bread and the pasta. And even for some people, it's so bad that they need to even give up fruit. They can't have any kind of sugar until they get their body repaired to work and use the hormone leptin again.
Well, even natural sugars they can't have.
Yeah, even natural sugar can, there's a reason, that sugar has got a lot of benefits, but it's also got a downside, even if it comes from something, as good as fruit, because it's still sugar and it still burns dirty. And the nice thing with eating fruit, though, is you're also getting a ton of nutrients that go along. And that's why fruit is so sweet and so delicious, is because it's packed with nutrients. And so, that's kind of Mother Nature's way of saying, look, you can have this because it's loaded with nutrition. I want you to want this, so I'm going to make it taste sweet. And, and so it's got, but if you notice, most fruit doesn't grow, at least not in most parts of the world, it doesn't grow year round. It's cyclical.
Right.
And so we're not meant to be eating fruit in the United States and in North America.
When we import fruits from other parts of the world, because what's not seasonal here is seasonal there, and we bring it over here, and so we're trying to have our favorite things 12 months a year. It's really not a good thing for us, is it?
Yeah, it's really not. It's not biologically how we were designed. It's just not the way our bodies are built. We're really designed, in the wintertime to almost go into more of I don't want to say starvation mode, but we eat less and we eat more of the things that, like meats and fattier foods and so on. But yeah, 200 years ago, you didn't, if you lived in North America, you didn't eat oranges in January. You waited until April or May or whenever they don't know how long it takes to start coming out. I'm so used to having them all the time, but maybe in Southern California you can have oranges year round, but for most parts of the world, fruit is it's very seasonal, and so it's really not good to eat certain foods that are normally healthy for you in the summertime.
So Mother Nature has its own clock, and so does the geography of it. So that if you live in a part of the world where there is a fruit that grows 12 months a year, it's probably okay to eat that fruit. But the one that doesn't grow 12 months a year, you should refrain from eating it when it's not growing in your geographical area.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And in the wintertime, that's gonna limit, the average person's diet. Most people don't want that kind of limit. They want to be able to eat, a variety of foods all year long, and that I'm sure that contributes to some of the health problems that people have. But the bigger problem really is that, instead of really shipping in fruit from South America to the United States in February, what we're getting is just processed stuff that comes in a box that can sit on the shelf for a year and still be good. I say good, but I mean as far as it's not going to give you food poisoning, it's not going to rot. Mm-hmm. So that's a much bigger problem than bringing in fruit that is not seasonal. But yeah, biologically speaking, we're really not meant to eat fruit in the wintertime here.
So does the same thing go for vegetables, Sean? The same premise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if a vegetable won't grow in the wintertime, then it's not something that your body's designed to eat. Like I said, a lot of there are cultures out there that they still they eat. Go up to Alaska. They eat seal blubber. And that's what they eat in the wintertime. There really isn't a lot else that's available. Of course, obviously in the more, like you go to Anchorage or something like that, obviously it's a city, they're going to have stuff shipped in, but I'm talking about the remote parts where you still have the indigenous people that live there, they'll still eat seal, because that was their wintertime food. And that's just, it's the way it was, the Native American Indian, I'm sure they ate a lot more deer and bison in the wintertime than they did in the summertime. In the summertime, they probably enjoyed a lot more, of vegetables and fruits and grains, those types of things.
That's interesting. I never really gave that much thought, but I do find it quite interesting. When you start thinking about Mother Nature, and you start thinking about these things, and you got to say to yourself, well, why is it doesn't grow during this time of the year? And it's because of the weather. And it makes sense that, it doesn't grow because of the weather, and you probably shouldn't be consuming it because of the weather. And if you lived in the southern hemisphere, it would be okay because the weathers get reversed, and there's going to be a part of the year where you can't have that there either.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's even geographic in the sense of, I'm primarily of European descent. I've got a whole bunch of different things, but basically I'm of European descent, and so I don't digest corn very well. I love corn on the cob, I think it's fantastic, but when I eat it, it comes out in my poop the next day.
And now you're saying that's an ailment that most people of European descent have? They can't digest corn?
Yeah, it's not even just Europeans. It's actually different parts of the world. Anywhere where your DNA comes from a part of the world where corn is not indigenous, your body's not going to produce the enzymes to digest corn. Native Americans and anyone that's indigenous to Central and South America, their body produces the enzymes, and corn is very, very good for them. But for me, it's
well, that's interesting, because I always thought that your digestion was dependent upon whether you chewed your food thoroughly, and most of us don't. Most of us just kind of crunch it and swallow it. But but I always thought that if you chewed your food thoroughly, that your body could almost digest anything.
Almost anything is key there, and it will digest almost anything. And chewing is a very important process. It is literally the first stage of digestion. Is chewing that food up and getting the saliva in there, and that's signaling the body what's coming, what it needs to get ready for. And so there's a lot of important reasons to chew your food. It's not even so much that your body can't break it down because the chunks are too big. Trust me, your gut can tear up pretty much anything. But it's really more a matter of, signaling the body to, hey, here's what's coming. Here's the enzymes that we're going to need. So the body, it's really, the human body is pretty amazing. It does some some awesome.
You know what would be interesting? You know what would be interesting for one of our shows, Sean, is for you to do a mechanics analysis of the human body and take us from. No, I know it sounds funny, but take it from.
My thought process was this is going to take more than one show.
That's okay.
You know what? About a year.
That would be fine. But I mean, if you start thinking about the brain and the synapses and the vision, and then your tongue and your taste and your saliva and your digestion and the acids in your stomach and then the processes of the different parts of your body, the organs of your body and what they do, and the fact that all of this stuff works automatically, that would be a pretty fascinating thing. And then the fact that it regenerates itself. I think all of these things, the body is a pretty magnificent piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is mind-blowing. The more I learn about the human body, I still have days where I just go, wow, it's just amazing to think what the human body is capable of doing.
Hey, I'll give you a wow, buddy. Wow, it's time for a commercial. We're about 30 seconds overweight. And when we come back, we're going to talk some more to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Do not go away. We'll be right back with Sean after these brief messages. You don't want to miss this.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, General Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, that weather's starting to go down. It's 75 degrees now here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be fancy-free in London, England, it's 61 degrees and mostly cloudy. And if you're lucky enough to be in Vienna, Austria, it's 45 degrees and it's clear. And if you're lucky enough to be listening to our show, you know what? It's time for us to hear some more from our own good buddy, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone, my friend.
All right, so we were talking about cheese, and that got us on the...
Yeah, we were cutting cheese.
we really should be, I tell you. Sounds so good right now. But so another benefit that they found in this study was people who ate cheese also had higher levels of what's called butyric acid, which is it's a compound that your body uses to help reduce obesity and increases your metabolism. So again, it's the butyric, the butyrate, you could call it, levels are not only decreasing obesity and increasing metabolism, but they're also helpful in reducing overall cholesterol as well.
So are we talking, just to clarify it, are we talking like jack cheese or we're talking about
this study was done in
cheddar cheese
in Copenhagen. So I'm guessing that these were probably
mozzarella,
really good quality cheeses. Yeah, I mean, we're like, one of the ones that they actually refer to is Roquefort cheese, and that Roquefort cheese is very helpful in fighting against cardiovascular disease. You know, giving you longevity and on and on and on. There was a study in Australia in 2009 that showed that the diets high in dairy products such as cheese could help overweight people even lose weight. So when you hear about a study talking about cheese, it's probably, let's say, I can guarantee it's not American cheese.
Yeah, Roquefort, Camembert, mozzarella, provolone.
It's gonna be the good quality stuff. You know, maybe some Manchego, or who knows what. It's gonna be stuff that you would get at a nice restaurant if you ordered a cheese platter. They're not going to come out with, the Colby Jack, marbled. I'm sure it's not stuff like that. Matter of fact, the cheese here is so processed that it probably would reverse the effects.
Gotcha.
That you find in this study. So it's going to be the good quality stuff. Like if you go to I'm trying to think of like one of the grocery stores, Pavilions, Ralph's, whatever you go to, whatever your grocery store. The major supermarkets now pretty much all have.
They have an imported cheese area, and they also have a deli area. They also have a deli area.
Yeah, they have the deli, and then right outside of the deli, or right in front of the deli area, is usually an island. And that island has all the really expensive cheeses in it, and those are the kind of cheeses you can probably feel comfortable that are going to go, help you lose weight. But if you're looking at, Kraft cheddar cheese, probably not so much. Definitely not anything that's got the word American on it. God, don't even. That's
and we're still talking about prudently eating these things, not eating them in excess, right?
Yeah, everything in moderation. I'm sure you could go excessive with this. I've known people that talking about the ketogenic diet. One of the things they love about ketogenic diet is they get to eat so much cheese and they think it's fantastic. And they get into ketosis and they start burning fat and losing weight and they think it's great. Mm-hmm. But I think that cheese, almost anything that you eat, it needs to be done in moderation.
Yeah.
And even good healthy, like I love going, and I like finding a good goat cheese or a good sheep's milk cheese, especially if I can find one that hasn't been pasteurized, if it's a raw milk. Mm-hmm. There was a cheese that I used to buy all the time, and I haven't had it for a while. And it's one of my favorites. It's a Manchego, which is made from sheep's milk, and it was raw. It was unpasteurized. You could buy it here in the grocery stores. And oh my gosh, it's just fantastic. There's such a difference in the quality of cheese that you get from Europe than the stuff that we get here in the United States. I think I was watching a video, and it was talking about Australians are trying American foods for the first time, and one of the people that was doing this was, why is your cheese orange? You know, that's a really good question. I don't know why our cheese is orange, because there's no orange cheese anywhere else.
It came from a Guernsey cow. That's what it's all about, you know. You know, we get our chocolate milk from Brown Swiss.
That's exactly what it is. Gotta find a red cow so we can get strawberry milk.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I thought that was a fascinating study, you know, and you're really in line with, you know, what I like to teach people is, you know, if you want to be more healthy, you know, having a low fat, high carb diet is just really, if you're an athlete who's burning calories all day long, you can get away with that for quite a while. Mm-hmm. But for the average person, you know, eating lots of carbs and eating low fat is just not the way to go. And when you do increase your fats, you know, I always tell people, make sure it's good quality fats, like a good quality cheese.
So people in Europe actually have it pretty much the right way. They eat a moderate breakfast. They have a fairly substantial lunch, and then when they have their dinner afterwards, they'll generally have just a cheese and what do you call the bread that they have, a baguette, and you know, and so they take it kind of easy. And I'm guessing that cheese and that baguette gets the oven burning all that stuff they had for lunch.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You know, and it's you know, they used to call it, I don't know if it still exists because their diet is becoming so much more westernized like ours. You know, we seem to lead the world in horrible food. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we had for the longest time the French paradox. You know, over here in the United States, we were being fed this ridiculous lie from false research like that. Remember that article that we talked about where the sugar companies were basically paying off the research.
Oh, yeah.
Sugar companies were paying the researchers to say that, you know, sugar was the way to go and fat was the problem.
Yeah.
And so we were being fed that lie for decades. And over in France, you know, they're eating cream and butter in their stuff, and they've got high fat this, and they put all they keep the skin on the chicken, and, you know, all the animal fat. They put, you know, they use duck fat for things. They use lard, and, you know, they've got, and they're the healthiest people, and they're drinking wine, you know, and you know, the whole world is going, the French, or at least in the United States, they're going, the French are doing exactly what we're told not to do, and they're all lean and fit and happy. You know, like, what's going on here? And, you know, that was sort of the French paradox, they called it. And it really isn't a paradox. It was the reality of eating good food. And, you know, studies like this show, you know, good cheese is probably, you know, that's the thing to remember, is that food in its state, the way it comes naturally, or even, you know, like, I know we've got to take cheese and kind of culture it and, you know, process it in a way. It's not quite like the processing we have nowadays. But, you know, if the food has been around for, I'll go hundreds, I don't even have to say thousands, but hundreds of years, and it's still being eaten as part of it's probably good for you if it's still part of the culture, you know? And so cheese has been around a long time. You know, yogurt has been around a long time.
Well, that explains vodka in Russia, huh?
Right, exactly.
And aquavit in the Baltic states.
Yeah, well, you know, and even alcohol. We know that alcohol in general has benefits. Oh, yeah. And I think that's a great segue, because I was actually
how the hell do I do this?
you rock it. But there was some scientists from Washington State University and Harvard basically did a study, and they found that people who drink wine before bed are actually it's a way of helping to promote weight loss. Whoa!
You know what? I knew that you were going to talk a little bit about wine, because you know I love wine, right? And for me, I mean, it's true. A day without wine is like a day without sunshine. So here's the deal. I always thought that a moderate amount of red wine on a daily basis was supposed to be good for your heart. But now you're telling me a moderate amount, I should double up on my wine so I can take the good care of my heart and start burning fat.
Yeah, you know, I read a study a few years ago.
You're gonna let me get away? You're gonna let me get away with that?
Oh yeah, I'm letting you away with that. Absolutely, especially red wine. But all wine is good for you, but especially red wine. Red wine is much higher in resveratrol. But this was a few years ago. I was doing a lot of research on wine, and really, is it good? Is it bad? Because that was part of the whole French paradox too, was people said, well, it must be because they drink wine with all of their meals. That must be the kids drink wine with the parents, at dinner time, and, they'll have wine at lunch. And so everyone thought for the longest time that maybe they can get away with eating all this high fat food because they drink so much wine. And that's really not the case. It was the fact that the wine is good for you, but the high fat food is also good for you. But I read an article that they did a study on how different alcohols affect different, whether it's heart disease or stroke or whatever. And wine had a benefit for pretty much all diseases, the first class, maybe even the second class. Once you get too much, it can increase your risk of stroke if you drink too many. But they did the study, up to 5 glasses of wine a day still gives you cardiovascular improvement in your cardiovascular health. So even up to 5 glasses of wine a day will help your heart health.
You got to be kidding. 5 glasses of wine, that's equivalent to a 750 milliliter bottle.
Yeah, that's basically a full bottle. Yeah. And, and so it's actually a little bit more. I think a bottle has, isn't it 4 glasses or is it just over 4 glasses?
Well, you know what? They're not full glasses because, when you drink wine, you don't drink a full glass. So generally you can get about 5 to 5.5 half glasses of wine.
I thought it was 4 to 5. Is it 5 or more? Okay.
No, yeah, it's a little bit more than 4, but less than 5.
But yeah, so that's they said that even up to 5 glasses of wine still gives you an improvement in cardiovascular health. Now it's going to cause all kinds of other problems along the way, but at least all a good ticker. But yeah, actually drinking wine is and alcohol in general. I think a lot of it has to do with it's got the resveratrol and the sugar is a different kind of sugar and on and on. But
answer this for me: if it helps you cardiovascularly, are you saying that drinking wine moderately dissolves the fat buildup in your cardiovascular system?
I don't know if I've ever heard it put that way, that it's going to help.
Well, I mean, how does it help you cardiovascularly if that's not what it's doing?
It's resveratrol is kind of like I think it's more of the antioxidant properties. It reduces inflammation. It's just your heart
thins the blood.
Your heart needs to, maybe it affects the blood flow more. I as far as cleaning out the fat, when you say fat, I'm assuming you mean build up and stuff like that. Like black cholesterol.
Yeah.
They even said that in here it does help reduce cholesterol. So, or maybe that was in this one. Was another one that I read. This one does not have it. It doesn't say anything about cholesterol. But I have read how it does help with reduce cholesterol. And when you say it's not that it's reducing the cholesterol, that's kind of almost a misnomer to say, I reduced the cholesterol, so therefore now I've got a good heart. What's really going on is if your body naturally reduces cholesterol, even if it's from something like drinking wine or just changing diet. And I'm not talking statins that are made to reduce. That's a synthetic version of reducing cholesterol, and it has no effect on your cardiovascular health. It's been proven. It's been absolutely proven that reducing cholesterol with statins does not affect your cardiovascular health. It doesn't save lives at all. But reducing cholesterol naturally, the reason why that reduces heart disease is because cholesterol, the thing to remember about cholesterol is that it is an anti-inflammatory. And so if you have elevated levels of cholesterol, it means you're dealing with inflammation the body's trying to push back down. And so if you can naturally get your cholesterol levels lowered, then what that's saying is that you've done something to reduce the inflammation, the chronic inflammation, cellular inflammation in your body, so your body no longer has to produce cholesterol. And the other problem with cholesterol, too, is not just, the quantity of cholesterol. It's not even the ratio. All these things are important. But the other problem with cholesterol is the oxidation of cholesterol. And if you're doing something that is antioxidant properties, like wine has an antioxidant property to it, what it's going to do is it's going to drive down the oxidation levels in your body. So, oxidation, think of, your car. You have stainless steel. We come back when cars are made out of metal instead of plastic.
Well, Sean, I really owe you you a debt of gratitude, because after the show today, I was gonna have a cognac with a splash of amaretto in it over the rocks, but I think I'm just going to open up a bottle of wine and put a nipple on it and drink that thing.
There we go. Oh, man, I wish I could say I'll be right there to join you.
I wish you could too. Speaking of which,
I'm coming back to California. I am going to make it a point before because I'm only going to be in California for probably a couple of weeks, but I'm going to make it a point to stop in and see you either on my way in or on my way out or something.
Yeah. Oh, please do. And you know what? You've been gone now for a month. You only got a couple more months to go, right?
Yeah, I don't really have a solid timeline set, and so I'm not sure, how much longer I'm going to be here, but, it could be another month or two. I've just kind of left it open. I just kind of figure I'll let things go the way they go, and as long as we're moving in the right direction, I'm not going to mess with that. I mean, I'm not going to stay here for a year or anything like that, but I don't have whether it's going to be a month or two, I really don't have anything solid set on how much longer I'm going to be in Kansas, but I do miss being in California, I can tell you that much.
Oh, yeah, you got to get back here to the bugless atmosphere and beautiful weather,
Absolutely.
So listen, what are we going to talk about? I was going to say what we're going to talk about on Thursday, but I guess we're going to talk about it on Tuesday. What are we going to talk about on Tuesday?
You wanted to talk about, kind of the mechanical stuff. I think that'd be kind of fun. I can do some stuff on digestion. Matter of fact, when we were talking about drinking wine and, like I was about to say, is one of the benefits I think of wine is that it's a fermented drink. And anything fermented tends to be more healthy for us.
Oh, then I'm going back to the cognac then.
Yeah, cognac is wine. It's just reduced down. Yeah. It's concentrated wine. Yeah. So yeah, you're still drinking wine when you're drinking cognac. Yeah. I love cognac. Yeah. And but I think that that's another thing that wine is beneficial for is it helps the microbiome in your gut. And so maybe we can talk about that. The microbiome. I think the microbiome would be an excellent topic for Tuesday.
Then that's what I won't remember microbiome, but I will remember we're going to discuss an analysis of the motor that we call the human body.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, my friend. Hey, you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay bug-free, stay in that air-conditioned comfort, and you know what? Make everybody around you happy. Matter of fact, forget about it. You do that automatically. Just make yourself happy.
Same to you, Robert. I had a fun time. I'll see you on Tuesday.
I will have a fun time, and I will talk to you on Tuesday. You have a good one. Now, the rest of you folks, stick around, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We've got a lot of good stuff for you. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:44 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 75 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's on its way down to 57 degrees, but if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Madrid, Spain, well, it's 68 degrees and it is clear. And if you're listening to us in Tokyo, Japan, it's 70 degrees with some light rain showers going on. But right now, let's talk about that Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is play catchball at your next brainstorming session. You know, not all brainstorming sessions need to start with a clean slate. You know what? If your team already has an idea or two, you can use the catchball approach at your next meeting. Here's how it works. Someone on the team tosses the idea to someone else. Whoever catches it must understand it, reflect on it, and improve on it in some way. Now, that person tosses the modified idea back to the group, where it's caught by someone else and improved further. As each person participates, they'll have the opportunity to tinker with the idea and enrich the conversation. This gives each team member a sense of shared responsibility and commitment to the whole idea. Ideally, that feeling of group ownership will remain once it's time to implement the idea, no matter who came up with the initial concept in the first place. And that's exactly what you want. Everybody participates, everybody agrees, and everybody makes it a success. Well, it's time for our secret daily teaching for your life. This is all about a positive mental attitude. You absolutely do control your life. You decide if you're going to be happy or sad, rich or poor, whether you're going to be a success or a failure. You do that every morning when you get out of bed. You look in the mirror and you say, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic, profitable, productive day today. And I'm going to make everybody around me just as happy, just to be around me. That's what you really control. You control it. You know what? The teaching for today is a shortcut to manifesting your desires is to see what you want as an absolute fact. That's it. Don't even question it. It's an absolute fact. Well, you know what today is. Sure you do. Everybody does. It's Thursday. It's September the 22nd, and it is somebody's birthday. Oh, yeah, and we've got some terrific birthdays today, so you know what? We might as well just get right to them. Right off the top, you know what? This fellow was born in 1934, men's basketball coach. Having been the coach at the University of Arizona for 25 years, many of his former players have gone on to impressive careers in the NBA. Happy birthday, Lute Olson. And here's a lady born in 1958, a rock guitarist, singer, songwriter, best known for her work with the Blackhearts, including their hit cover, I Love Rock and Roll. Yeah, happy birthday, Joan Jett. And then finally, born in 1969, is a founding member and former bassist for the band Weezer. Happy birthday, Matt Sharp. Well, what do you think happened today in history? Well, I'm about to tell you. On September the 22nd, 1692, last people hanged for witchcraft in the United States. Yeah. And how about in 1888, the very first issue of National Geographic magazine was published. Yeah, I used to sneak peeks at that just to see the pictures. Well, we won't get into that. And how about on September 22nd, 1951, the very first live sporting event seen coast to coast in the United States, a college football game between Duke and the University of Pittsburgh is televised on NBC. Yeah. Well, you know what? Our quote for today comes from Jim Leveland. Jim says, I knew that we were in for a long season when we lined up for the national anthem on opening day, and one of my players said, every time I hear that song, I have a bad game. That's profound, I'd say. Well, you know what? It's time for those interesting but useless facts. We've got a number of them, so let's get to it. Did you know Yale was founded by Harvard men? In 1700, 10 educators, 9 of them Harvard graduates, met in Killingsworth, which is now Clinton, Connecticut, for the purpose of establishing a college. When it was begun, Yale was not known as Yale, but as the Collegiate School of Connecticut. Only in 1718, thanks to donations from Elihu Yale, was it given its present name. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. How about this? Did you know that flamingo tongues were a common delicacy at a Roman feast? I don't think I want to go there. How about this? 50 years ago, Cheerios, the cereal, Cheerios, were called Cheerios. Cheerios. Yes, absolutely. And here's one. Did you know that limelight was how we lit the stage before electricity was invented? Basically, illumination was produced by heating blocks of lime until they glowed. I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. I guess that's how you get into the limelight, huh? Well, how about this? A large kangaroo would make a great long-distance jumper, covering more than 30 feet with a single jump. Now, 30 feet, that's almost a third of a football field. That is really something. Well, you know what? Let me leave you with this. It is the largest carnivore, meat eater, that lives on land. Yeah. Well, you know what? Don't go away. We've got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story, Establishment Boy. And I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Please don't go away. We've got really a lot of great show for you.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay a great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And it's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. The biggest and best voice in America reveals the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. I almost didn't get it in because I forgot to turn the microphone on. But I can tell you right now that today's story is establishment boy. You know, from as far back as anyone can remember, Christopher knew where he was going. A clean-cut lad, bright, well-behaved, the kind any parents would be proud to call their son. His father, a major general in the Air Force, was immensely proud when young Christopher announced his intention someday to join the military. Christopher was 10, but even then, he knew what he must do. First concern? Grades. Achievement. An airtight academic record. Then, Brownsville, Texas-born Christopher was in high school. His dad was transferred to San Mateo, California. There were the usual family adjustments connected with the move. If ever a boy had the excuse to falter, it was then. Christopher, instead, excelled. To his classmates, a square. Remember that phrase when they used it? Well, while the others brought up bebop records, Christopher bought ballads. When others stayed out late, Christopher stayed home, studied. He had a plan, and no one knew better than he what it would take. After high school, Christopher attended private Pomona College in Claremont, California. By this time, excellence was becoming an obsession. Scholastic excellence, athletic excellence. Christopher did not just play football. He had to be a football hero, a Golden Gloves boxer, a sports writer for the student paper, an ROTC commander. By now, any career in the world he might choose was drawing within his grasp, but not just any career for Christopher. Before receiving his degree from Pomona, Christopher entered the Atlantic Monthly Collegiate Short Story Contest and won first prize. Then, the ultimately prestigious academic recognition, a Rhodes Scholarship, and on to Oxford. There was no hesitating, no soul-searching, no resting on his laurels. By the time Christopher reached Oxford, he had written one novel and was beginning a second. Book publishers were clamoring for his manuscripts, but Christopher had something else in mind. He had told his daddy about it when he was 10. So after graduating from Oxford, after achieving as much as any young man could be expected to achieve, Christopher joined the Army. He went through jump school, through ranger school, through flight school. He was a pilot, was a captain, was stationed in Germany, and at last the big break, the assignment he had dreamed about, back to the United States, to become a major, to become an instructor at West Point. Some just seemed to know from the beginning where they'd landed, what life expects of them. So it seemed to be for Christopher, a boy who from the beginning of elementary school concerned himself with grades instead of grumbling, a boy who from the start was called a square, but didn't care. A football hero, a novelist, a Golden Gloves boxer, an ROTC commander, a Rhodes Scholar, a young man like that could go anywhere. A captain about to become a major, a West Point instructor about to live a childhood dream. A young man like that could go anywhere, could do anything, in or out of the military. So Christopher became a name that you know. He became the #1 recording artist of country or cow country classics and hillbilly ballads. Chris Christopherson. And now you know the rest of the story. Well, don't forget to listen to my show tomorrow. We're going to have John Matthews, Joe Hakos, and me. We'll be talking about conservative politics on our semi-weekly simulcast. And then John Hanson will be here, David Garrett will be here to talk about the law, Garrett on the law. And then, of course, we'll continue our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Tomorrow's story is going to be a secret. I don't want to tell you about it right now. I want to surprise you tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. Tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. You know what? They'll be glad you did. You'll be glad you did. And I will too. So thank you very much for letting them know.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.